So I've invited a very special guest to the log cabin today, halfway up the mountain. Now, I don't know if this gentleman, and it is a gentleman, would have got here in the... I think that he can either ski or snowboard. I think he snowboards. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's the summer. He ran his bike. We're about to find out if it's an e-bike. It's probably a good bike because this man has his finger on the pulse of everything mountaineering in the world. He's got a brilliant podcast born out of lockdown. None other than host of The Ride Companion. It's Davi Birks, everybody.
Wow, man. That was you really turn it on, eh? When you hit that red button, you really turn...
What red button are you talking about? Hey, can you
never
you
been
snowboard?
snowboarding, never been skiing in my life.
You've never tried...
I mean, I am actually lying a little bit there. I have been snowboarding once,
mate,
but it doesn't really count because I bought a dodgy lift ticket off someone at Big Bear in California and then proceeded to... It didn't work, so I couldn't get into the resort, like through the official entrance. So I proceeded to walk up the mountain. I got to the top, put this board on my feet, and just tried to get down.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's the only experience of snowboarding I've ever had. That was my last one, and I really hope that one day you'll take me. I really hope so. I think when we did our podcast together ages ago, we made that bet of like, one day we got to go snow zone or something. We could do like a double day, right? We could have like a whole mountain bike in the morning, snowboarding in the afternoon.
See, that sounds awesome. I've
really like
I've been
that.
to the mountains quite a few times in the summer, and there is something like really amazing about it. It's completely different feel from the winter. But I mean, do you spend much time out in the mountains in the summer then?
No, not really, to be honest. I really wish I did. I'm not really that guy. I think I'm really spoilt living where I live. I live just outside the Peak District, and you can ride some of the best riding in the world from my house. And then like people offer to come out on trips and come and do this stuff and go to Leger or Morzine or whatever, and I'm just like, nah, I could just stay at home. It's kind of cool, you know. Like I've become a real like hermit over the last few years. A really close friend of mine lives in Morzine, and for the last few years he's like, come out, and I'm like, yeah, I will. Or I could just stay at home and just ride my bike on some of the best riding in the world, and I could just do that, and it'll be easier and cheaper and less hassle.
What kind of riding? What kind of riding is it then in the Peak District? What kind of riding do you do?
We've got, I mean, everything out here is pretty, I'd say, natural. We don't have a bike park or anything up this way. Like the closest bike park to me is probably Leeds Urban Bike Park, which is a bike park, but it's not really. So yeah, most of the stuff's local out here, man. Like it's pretty, local. It's natural, so it's a lot of big climbs, long descents, man-made, everything. A lot of it's secret, so you kind of got to know people and stuff like that. It's really cool. Sheffield is like renowned scene for mountain biking, so super spoilt to have that on the doorstep. And like I said, from my house, have like insane riding. So yeah, I really should get out and ride some more big mountain, Alps stuff. But it's been a weird few years, hasn't it? It's been a weird few years.
It has.
So
it's been a weird few years, absolutely. Now, I met Davey working. I did some work for Saks for the underwear brand, and that's where I met Davey. Came across him, and he was. You had just started the podcast then, hadn't you?
Sort of. I'll be honest. Sort of.
In a different.
It had taken on a bit of a turn at that point. So before I did the podcast for like 3 years before it changed to what it is now. I think the original one we did together might have been, I can't remember, maybe that was the original Hook It podcast. I did that on my own with you, right? We didn't have Ollie involved then. So yeah, I've been doing it for like 3 years before, and then we went into lockdown. Ollie and I, my co-host Ollie, not this Ollie that's on this podcast, Ollie Wilkins, who's a professional mountain biker, we decided to launch a show called The Lockdown Companion because we figured people were going to be bored and we'd try and loosely entertain them with like a weekly show. And that just evolved from there to being now called The Ride Companion. Total rebrand. He's now, I guess a partner, 50% owner of whatever it is. It's kind of weird talking about it like it's a business, isn't it? But it is. So yeah, he's like 50% owner of that. And I think when I met you, Tim, things were starting to like ramp up. I think it had been like a steady growth, and then we went into lockdown. It got really weird, and then it like went weirdly viral in our little niche industry. So that's about right. I think I kind of get lost, man. Time goes quick, doesn't it, these days? I kind of get lost.
And you've got a new studio. You built yourself a new studio, haven't you?
Yeah,
That's
dude,
sick.
we built a studio. Yeah, I mean, off the back of all of this stuff and it getting a little bit bigger, I think it's an interesting one, this, because you guys work in podcasting. You do a bunch of shows, right? Tim, you've got a couple of podcasts. Ollie, I know you're involved in making content and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know how far you want to dig into this, but I think it's super interesting that, again, especially over the last few years, podcasts have become more of I'd say like a legitimate content piece. Right? Okay, so what I mean by that is previously a podcast for me, and I'm a really big podcast fan as well, would be something that I'd have on in the background while I'm driving, I'm cooking in the house, I'm cleaning, out riding. Like, I'd have a podcast on, and it was very much an audio thing. And then over the last few years, I think especially in the last few years, it's really become like you've got to have some sort of studio space. You've got to be creating video content. And also, it just opens up way more opportunity doing it that way. It's a real pain in the ass. It's expensive. The studio is a 5-hour drive from my house every couple of weeks. So that's really gnarly. What? It's not fun. Oh so the studio's in Surrey and I live in Sheffield. So it's like... it's a long way, but it's super interesting. I think how podcasting has changed, how for me it has anyway. Like the way that I consume podcast now is like I look forward to sitting down and watching it like I was used to watch TV years ago. And also it opens up, once you've done that, like it opens up way more opportunity to promote your show, because you've got the avenue of YouTube, which is telling you what your audience want. It's also recommending your show to other people, and then also you can take clips from it, which then you use on social media, and like it just opens up way more opportunity, I think, because I feel like the podcast apps, Spotify, Apple, whatever, they're really good, but they're quite one-dimensional. It's like you put your content out there, and there's not really that much that you can do from there to promote it, other than then going back to your own social channels or your guests promoting stuff or whatnot. So yeah, I think it's been a massive move for us. It's been a lot. Once you start adding that video element into it, there's a lot more production involved and editing involved, and we're quite a quick turnaround too. So we usually record on a Monday and Tuesday, or a Monday or a Tuesday, or sometimes both. But then that episode comes out on a Wednesday, so it's a quick turnaround thing. So yeah, super lucky. The podcast's grown enough that we've got 2 members of staff now who edit and produce. But yeah, crazy. And it's made it just better. I know that sounds crazy, but the fact that we can like have assets and like photos with guests, and the conversations are way easier to have, I think, as well. You don't realise how much you do vibe off having the same person in the same room. Like you just, the body language thing and everything, and again, before we,
and also having those people to you enables you to have that conversation relaxed and whatnot,
definitely. I can kind of, especially this time of year, we're in summer now in the UK, and everyone that we want as a guest, not everyone, but a lot of people we want to guest are away doing stuff. So it's making it a little bit tricky. We are having a lot of injured athletes on the podcast. It's like, oh, you're injured.
You can't ride.
Come down.
Come on down. Yeah. And how about the mountain biking community as well? Like, I mean, how are they? I mean, as you said, it seems to have like really kicked off. It sounds like they've really got behind you and really supportive of it.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm really proud of with the platform and the podcast and stuff is it's been growing quite organically. Well, it has been growing organically. I think that's the best way of growing something. It's not paid for. It's just word of mouth. So I think the people that follow it and the people that reach out and send lovely messages are legit fans. It's weird, but the mountain bike community, no doubt, is the same as the snowboard and ski community. It's 99% positive, and people do want to see you succeed. And hopefully people appreciate the amount of effort that goes into doing this stuff. Like, it doesn't come for free, you know. But yeah, the community is amazing. I mean, I couldn't wish for a better. I mean, we call our listeners the companionship. Like, we couldn't wish for a better companionship.
Aww.
It's so sick. Like, and what's cool,
we need that, Tim. We need that.
Yeah,
yeah, you do.
we need something like that.
No doubt you guys experience this too, because you come away from, it's probably a little bit different actually for you guys, but you come away from being the guy behind the laptop previously or in the studio, and to going out into public and going to like events and stuff, and people, you meet these people, and they're all so lovely. Everyone's like so lovely about it, and you know, they all have just nice things to say. And you know, especially when we were going through that strange few years, a lot of people really struggled through that.
Very much so.
And it's really lovely to hear some of these stories where people are like, you know, I was struggling, my job was tough, and you know, and being sick or whatever it could be, and you know, just putting a bit of content out really helps people. And I think if I met some of the people, you know, the podcasts that I listen to and through that time, or even now, that really help you through, like if I met Joe Rogan, I would legitimately not know what to do or say other than thank you. Like, you've given so much to me, and there's a bunch of other podcasts too, but you don't realize, do you, like how much it can impact people. And sometimes people just want to hear a friendly voice and have a laugh. So
Davey, welcome, mate. You're welcome. I'm joking. So listen, it would be remiss of us here to not we have the oracle of all things mountain biking is to siphon off a few little bits and tips off your brain about getting basically our listeners to potentially try mountain biking. Now, there will be a good portion of snowboarders and skiers that do indeed transfer and in the summer months dust off the mountain bike. But believe it or not, I kind of did some proper mountain biking on some proper trails for the first time in a long time, a couple of weeks ago with Matt Stoddart at Cannock Chase. We had such a fun day filming. I ate shit really badly, hurt my knee. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is I couldn't believe how good it was, and the feeling that you get from just riding down a trail and round a man-made berm and through the trees. It was very much like snowboarding. It was like the buzz I got off snowboarding. So give us the big sell. It's mountain biking, isn't it? It's just, I mean, you kind of mentioned it there about just riding out your back door, you know.
Yeah, and I think it brings back, every time I put bum on the saddle, it brings back those memories of being a kid and that first taste of freedom for me. Like that first taste of like, you had this tool which you could just ride to your friend's house and just cruise around. And like, I can't like ride down a hill without just smiling. Like, it doesn't have to be a hill full of rocks and gnarliness and jumps. It's like just coasting down a hill. It's like the best feeling ever. And I think I think it's super relatable and really similar to snowboarding or skiing. Like, it's so similar because it's that first taste of freedom. And I think with the skiing or snowboarding, for a lot of people, when they were young, that's like a holiday with the family. And like, it's the first taste of like really just doing something different and being out there and stuff. And I think mountain biking still brings that up to me. Like, and I'm a bit kind of weird with biking. It's like, it's everything to me in a way. It's like my escape. It's my sort of job. So I don't really get away from it too often. But I absolutely, mate, I still love it. And anyone who hasn't been for a bike ride, I urge you to just grab a bike. There's so many bikes for sale at the moment. It's a buyer's market at the moment for mountain bikes. There's a lot of people bought bikes through the last weird few years that now are selling them because they probably realised that, okay, it's a bit of a hobby, a bit of a fad. So the second-hand bike market is really good because there's loads of them, and unfortunately you've got a lot of bike shops that are now struggling, so they've got a lot of stock, it seems, to clear as well. So you've got this, it's a buyer's market basically. If you want to try riding, now's a good time to probably go to your local bike shop and get a bit of a deal. And
where do you start then? I mean, like, someone like me, I BMX briefly when I was a kid. I'm old. My knees are going gradually.
Yeah.
I'm not as confident as I once was, and that's not just in the bowel area. That is just in all areas. I don't want to be going over too many jumps or whatever. But where would I start? But I want to go off road. I like that. I'm not into the road cycling kind of.
No. Let's leave that there. No one's into that. No one's cool anyway.
Tim.
I said no one cool.
He did school. He did say no one cool.
I think, again, I'd start, if I was just getting into it, I'd start relatively cheaply. You can pick up a good hardtail, which means it hasn't got rear suspension, for like sub £1,000. You get yourself a decent helmet, and you really don't need much more. I mean, obviously in the UK at the moment, it's going to be raining, so maybe you want a coat. And some waterproof trousers, but that's what I'd do. There's levels to everything, and I guess it's the same as skiing or snowboarding. Do you go out and buy the most expensive skis and snowboards and the best kit? It's probably not. Like, why would you do that? You could go online, find a cheap bike, see if you enjoy it. I think a lot of people got caught out by that recently. You know, they bought the best bike, and it's like, you don't need that to get going. All bike manufacturers make great bikes. I mean, if you want to ride the best bike, you buy a Focus, because that's what I choose to ride. They are the best bikes. Simple as that. No two ways about it. So yeah, buy a Focus.
Not an Apollo from Halfords.
If you need an Apollo, that's all good. Whatever. I'm not judging. But I'd buy a cheap bike, and then again, there's plenty of places now you can go which are safe. You can go to a bike park. You know, you could jump right in there with something like Bike Park Wales, which has got an uplift, which means you don't have to bust your balls all day riding up to the top of something to ride back down. I think the major thing as well with getting into any sport these days is two things. You get out what you put in, so the more you put in, the better it's going to be. And I think it's the same with fitness too, because the fitter you get, the more fun it's going to be, because there's nothing worse than going out I've done this a million times in my life. You go for a ride, you've not ridden for ages, all your friends are riding all the time, and you're that guy at the back that's like slogging his like really struggling, slogging away, and it's just not fun. So my advice would be, you buy a cheap bike, you just get miles in, just get up to like some sort of fitness so that it's enjoyable, and not every ride you get back home and you just beat for 3 or 4 days. It should be relatively good on your joints too. I think that's one of the things about any type of cycling. It's not going to be super hard on your knees or anything like that, especially if you get it set up properly. I'd watch a few YouTube videos, make sure the saddle's the right height, all that sort of stuff. So that would be the way that I get into it. The other way, I think, is a great way of getting into it if you want to spend a little bit more money, and maybe you're not that fit, is to buy an e-bike, because I'm full e-bike guy these days. I absolutely love it.
So obviously when you arrived at the log cabin earlier, I did mention we didn't know if you'd rode up here on a normal bike or an e-bike, but now that's the e-bike outside.
That's the e-bike outside, mate. Yeah, it's made it up here, no problem at all. It's faster than anyone else as well. But yeah, if you can afford to just go that little bit more and buy an e-bike, it just opens up so many more opportunities for you, especially if you live in a hilly place where that ride to the top is a bit of a slog. The e-bike just makes it so much easier and way more fun, because you can do 5 laps for every one that you do on a regular bike.
Amazing.
So yeah, if you can afford it, Focus e-bike. Focus Jam Squared, probably best one, I reckon.
Let's have a quick look, see what they're looking like on eBay.
What's your mountain biking journey at the moment, Tim? Because I think when I first met you, you were umming and ahhing about buying a bike, and I think we exchanged a few messages about bikes.
We did exchange a few messages, and that was at the time where my jobs were waning, just like my enthusiasm for mountain biking. Do you know what? Yes, I don't own a mountain bike. I've got like a shed full of crap road bikes that I need to just get on eBay and claw back a little bit of money, but I genuinely
link in the show description for the eBay.
Yeah, link in the show notes for my eBay sales. But no, so this is quite random. I did another job. I got approached from Go Outdoors because they needed somebody to present some buying guides. So I ended up riding a Focus.
There you go.
It was a great bike to ride.
Yeah.
But I basically did a couple of days on a mountain bike with Go Outdoors as the beginner, teaching people, how to buy a mountain bike and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
and
sick.
that's where they're from. So, yeah, the
And again, like, great place to go and buy a bike. Like, no free shout outs, but Go Outdoors is a great place. There's big Go Outdoors in most cities or close to, big towns and stuff. Great place to go, decent staff by the looks of things. Everyone, people in there are knowledgeable, and they've got a range of bikes that you could sit on, have a feel of, and see which one is going to be right for you. Obviously, if you can, support your local bike shop there, especially at the moment, because they are having it a bit tough. Yeah. So if you can, go have a good coffee and a chat with your local bike shop. It'd be a nice experience. A lot of them
have coffee, don't they? I've noticed that.
Yeah,
loads of bike shops have
it.
Decent coffee machines going in there. I might just nip in.
It's a thing. I don't know. It happened. I've watched that happen, I'll be honest. So I used to be a sales rep on the road quite a lot, and they'd offer you a drink and it'd be like some shitty tea or like an instant coffee. Whereas now you go to bike shops and they're like, would you like a coffee? What would you like? Latte, oat milk, soy milk, breast milk? What do you want in it? It's so good.
Amazing.
Hey, no breast milk. You've just missed Jenny Jones. Obviously she's the third best host of this podcast, but she did leave a question for you because she's had little Wilbur, and she wants to know what are the best bikes for kids? What do you start on? She was mentioning the little scoot bikes.
Yeah, those balance bikes are really cool.
Yeah.
You can get. I think you can get them again relatively cheap from most places now. A balance bike.
Start them young.
I'll do a little shout out for someone who's putting awesome content out at the moment. There's a mountain biker, a pro rider called Joe Barnes. If you're not following Joe Barnes and his kid Bo at the moment, like, they are so funny. His kid's probably, I don't know, 3. And he's got this little balance bike, and he sends it on this thing.
Really?
And they're doing all these how-tos for kids. Yeah, it's so good, man. It's the coolest content.
Wicked.
So his balance bike is a Hope balance bike, which I believe a higher end.
Yeah.
But I think for a kid, balance bike for sure. We didn't have those as kids, did we?
No, we didn't.
I don't think.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't have those as kids for sure. It was stabilizers, and then stabilizers were suddenly off, and you were riding into things like cars and curbs and stuff.
And if that thing fell over on you, you were trapped under it until an adult came and was able to lift it off you.
It's so true. But yeah, those balance bikes are sick. And then they do, if you want to go one step further, there's a brand called Stacyc, STACYX maybe, or K, I can't remember. Stacyc, and they do like the electric ones, which have got a thumb throttle.
Oh
no
my
way!
So sick.
No way.
Yeah, they're the ones.
No way! I'm letting my daughter have one of those. Not a hope in hell.
Get her one, Ollie. Get her one of them.
No, she will go. She will go.
Yeah,
flying
they're really
off a cliff.
cool.
That is just.
They have these like tournament, like race series for them as well, for kids. It's really cool.
So
yeah.
Okay, maybe I will get her one. Yes, she can go racing. I like it.
Davey, we've taken up far too much of your time. Thank you for joining us. Listen, before you do leave, it is expensive. That studio's not paying for itself.
No.
Link in our notes to go and have a listen to The Ride Companion. It's a brilliant listen, and Ollie is, if you thought Davey was nice, Ollie's equally as pleasant and a really good listen.
Yeah.
So, but Davey, Ollie, I mean, surprise! I should really surprise you in rehearsals, not when we're live, Ollie. But Davey should come back. You should come back, Davey, shouldn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
if people want me to, like,
course.
Let's see if people care. If they want me to, I'd love to come back.
Well, listen,
how about we do
I want to learn more about you. I think next time you come back, I want to learn more about you because you've given us like I feel like we've had the advice on the bikes and what we need to do, and I feel like we need to go away and get a little bit of experience in, and then come back. You
need to learn about when Davey went to Loch Ness and ended up on an episode of 999. That's what you need to learn.
Yeah, perfect. See, that's the shit I want to hear.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. That's the.
How about we do a
snowboard
and bike day, and then we come back and we talk about our experiences.
Do you know what we should do? Dead serious. We'll do Hemel Hempstead, some snowboarding in Hemel Hempstead. Then we'll go down to Surrey, do a bit of riding around there, and then we'll go into the.
You can do our show.
Into the studio. That'd be sick.
Let's
All
yeah okay.
Because
sold.
you're going to
Done.
be
Yeah,
you're a
we're doing
beginner snowboarder and we're going to be beginner mountain bikers. So there's going to be some crashes on both sides.
I mean, beginner's a
Yeah.
understatement
Yeah.
of the year, but yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Okay, let's do it. That's a deal.
Amazing. Oh, it's so lovely to meet you, Davey. Thank you so much.
Nice to chat.
You
to
too, guys. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Cheers,
you
Dave.
both. Peace and love. Like and subscribe.